Join me as I try to summarize 60 years of life changing lessons based on my own personal experience. Let's start with my early life. I was born to immigrant parents who escaped war torn Italy for a better life here in Australia. So you could say I'm an Aussie Italian. My father was a labourer and my mother was a cleaner. I'm the youngest of four children. As a child, I was shy, insecure, and skinny, and as a result, I was sometimes bullied at school. I remember one morning as I was walking to school, and these children came up and started harassing me, but they didn't know that behind me was my sister, my older sister, and she saw what was going on and she got very angry. She actually scared them off. So I'm so grateful for her protecting me. Now, growing up, we weren't like super poor, but we really didn't have a lot of spare money because my parents didn't earn much. They had a mortgage and they had four children to raise. And at the age of 12, I got a job selling newspapers, and my parents were very happy and proud of me because I was earning some money. And I did that for 4 years, and I enjoyed it very much. And I saved about $4,000 during that time, and I got to learn a bit about business and a bit about people. After I stopped selling newspapers, I hung around my neighbourhood till late at night. Often I'd come home late and find the door locked. You see, my parents had this rule that if you're not home by 6 p.m, that's when the lights in the streets come on, then they lock the door, and I would have to beg and plead for someone to unlock the door. And usually it was my loving mother who opened the door and let me in. Now, during this period of my life, when I was age 16, 17, my father did notice that I wasn't spending much time doing my homework. He said that I'll probably drop out of school and spend the rest of my life looking after sheep. Now, this upset me and made me feel like a loser. And one particular day, I was feeling so down that I went to the city and just started walking around aimlessly until I got tired and I stopped in front of the cinema. And I noticed a poster on the wall that looked very interesting. And I went inside to check it out. And it was about a movie called Rocky. You may have heard about it. It's a very famous movie. And it's about a 1,000,000 to 1 chance for this underdog boxer to fight for the heavyweight championship of the world. And his name was, the heavyweight champion was Apollo Creed. And what happened was this underdog boxer ended up going the distance under the direction of his coach, Mickey. The movie blew me away. Made such an impact on my life because I felt that there was a strong connection between the main character, Rocky Balboa, and myself. I could see the similarities between his life and my life. I learned how Rocky went from being a nobody to becoming a somebody. I was inspired. This character gave me hope. And I knew that the messages in the movie could help me overcome the challenges in my life. So Rocky became my first coach. At that point, I made a decision to do the best I could with the time I had left before my Year 12 final exams. So I went home a different person and I began studying. I ended up passing my Year 12 examination and getting into university to study engineering. Now, as a child, I remember I was always curious and interested in how things worked. So what I would do is take things apart to try and figure that out. Unfortunately, sometimes I couldn't put the thing back together again. And I remember one night where I was playing with this instrument, so to speak. It was like a needle and it had a light bulb in it, and I put it into a power cord to see the light globe blow up. But I didn't know anything about voltages and things like that at that point, and the thing exploded and I almost electrocuted myself. Now, this thirst for understanding led me to university to study engineering so I could figure out how things worked out, because that was something that I was very interested in. And I was so proud of myself for getting into university because I thought that I had made it through the hardest thing that I'll ever go through in my life. But I was wrong. And during my first year of engineering, I started exercising at the university gymnasium, and this helped me to build muscle and confidence. Like I said earlier, I was a shy, insecure, skinny kid, and I was bullied. But this gymnasium actually helped me to become a stronger person. And this confidence led me to go out socializing to nightclubs about 6 times a week. And the reason it wasn't 7 times a week because the club was closed on a Monday. So while I was out socializing, I would often be thinking about I should be studying. And when I was studying, I was thinking about going out socializing. Somehow I got my wires crossed. I wasn't focused on what I was doing in the moment. And there's a lesson there to always focus on what you're doing in the moment and not think about what you probably should be doing and stuff like that. So live in the moment. Now, this lack of focus and all the going out resulted in my marks dropping at school. Luckily, I managed to scrape through to the second year of engineering. And in the second year, things got even more difficult. It was at this point that I realized that I hadn't made it and that this engineering course is much harder than I've expected. That year, I ended up failing some units and had to repeat the year. And during that repeated year in 1986, my father wasn't feeling well and he ended up walking himself into hospital to get the issue fixed. And he ended up having an operation and he came out from the operation and went into a normal ward. But then we got a phone call saying something went wrong and he ended up in intensive care and he had too much fluid on his chest and they couldn't deal with what was going on with his organs. And what happened was he ended up dying. And at that moment, I felt like I let myself and my father down. I thought my dad died not being proud of me. This was the lowest point of my life. I felt so depressed and alone, and I spent the next day in the park by myself crying. I didn't know what to do. I knew also that the odds were against me because statistically 240 students enter engineering in the first year and only 120 end up graduating after the fourth year. That's a 50% dropout rate. And I thought to myself, should I just take the easy option and give up? But then I thought and heard my father's voice. What would he say in this situation? And I imagine him being very angry and saying to me to stop this nonsense, stop this crying because I love you. Get up and go and finish your studies and just do the best you can and make the most of your life. After all, that's why he came and made the sacrifice to come all the way from Italy to Australia to create a better life for all of us. So at that moment, I felt this power inside of me and I can't explain what it was, but I wanted to make sure that he didn't die for no reason. So I made a decision, and that's also another lesson. Your decisions determine your destiny. So I made a decision to go and do the best I can with my studies. And in that moment, it's like a moment in the movie Rocky 3, when Rocky gets the eye of the tiger and nothing's going to stop him from winning the fight. And obviously for me, in graduating, nothing's going to stop me because I'm just going to give it all I can till the end to get through. So I went forward believing I could do it, and I did it. I got my bachelor's degree in engineering and got a job to follow. And a few years later, I met a beautiful woman, we got married, and we had 3 wonderful children. I worked for 18 years in a large company until they decided to restructure, and as a result, I lost my job. I then found another job and worked there for 7 years. Overall, I did enjoy most of my 25 years working as an engineer, as a people manager and project manager. Having said that, I was focused on the task and getting the job done, and I didn't pay too much attention to the people side of the equation, which I've come to regret, and I believe that held me back somewhat. And in the last few years, I noticed that my enjoyment had started to fade, started to decline. I felt bored and unfulfilled. I wasn't learning and growing. I was just going through the motions. I was probably going through a midlife crisis. And I noticed who I'd become. I'd become a person who valued image. In other words, my ego, valued position, my title, valued having power and control and money. And as a result, I felt unhappy, unfulfilled, stressed, and my life lacked meaning and purpose. And I knew I couldn't go on like this. Something had to change. So what I did was I did some introspection and realized that I had a passion for personal development and for helping people. You see, silence does bring wisdom. So I recommend that if you're going through something similar, it's good to take a break, get into nature, and just be still and listen to your heart, not your head, because your head is where your ego is. So I highly recommend you do that. So in 2013, I went back to school and became a professional certified life and workplace coach, a speaker, and an author. Now, I don't claim to be an expert. I still consider myself to be a student. You see, the danger with calling yourself an expert, and many people do call themselves an expert, is that that's when you stop learning and growing. In other words, if you call yourself an expert, that's really just an ego thing. You think you know everything, but we don't know everything. There's always something to learn. Now, today, my values are God, in other words, Jesus, health, family, friends, minimalism, learning, contribution, freedom, and fun. And as a result, I do feel happier, I feel fulfilled, inspired, I have inner peace, and that my life has meaning and purpose. I now use my knowledge and experience to help unfulfilled professionals who want to step into their purpose and live fully. My purpose, in a nutshell, is to end job hate. And I know that deep down, many people aren't happy with their career. They feel like the world doesn't see them or hear them or understand them. They want to make a change, but they don't know how. Now, if you are feeling lost or directionless in your career and you're thinking of getting some help, that's actually something that I specialize in. I've created an online course called Profitable Career Launcher, which will help you get career clarity and therefore direction. I'll put a link in the description. I also do private one-on-one coaching, and you can apply for that through the link in the description. In summary, the main 7 lessons that I learnt are as follows. Number 1, my decisions control my destiny, and my decisions come from my beliefs, the meanings I put on things, and what's happened. So it's very important to make sure you put the appropriate meaning on things. And sometimes the meaning we put on things can be a negative meaning, therefore we feel bad about the thing. But if you can try and find a positive in whatever happened to you, then you're going to feel better and you're going to progress forward. So know that your decisions control your destiny. So if you want to change the direction of your life, you need to change your decisions. And that involves changing the meaning you put to things and also changing your beliefs, because our beliefs can keep us stuck, especially if they're limiting beliefs. Now, number 2, not everyone is going to approve of your decisions. Just like me, when I made the decision to accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Saviour, many of my family members and friends didn't approve. They thought I was crazy. But you got to do and make decisions that are right for you. Don't make decisions on what others tell you to do, unless you obviously agree with them. So be strong and make the right decisions for you. Number 3 lesson. My ego can stop me from learning and growing. Like I said, if you think you're an expert, you're not going to learn and grow. So you need to be humble at all times. And I know that my ego can keep me stuck. So I need to learn to suppress my ego, which is in my head, and instead listen and follow my heart. Lesson number 4. My fears are linked to my ego and can stop me from trying new things, from stepping outside my comfort zone. Because our comfort zone is our danger zone. There's no growth within our comfort zone. Growth, success, happiness is outside our comfort zone. So it's important to step outside your comfort zone. And also, I believe my fears, our fears, serve a purpose. They're meant to help us get to the next level. They're trying to challenge us to overcome that fear so that we can get to the next level. And I've found that the answer to overcoming your fears is preparation. So whatever you're afraid of, prepare yourself to overcome that fear. And an example that comes to mind is, because when I was younger, I mentioned that I was shy, insecure, and skinny, and I felt weak, and I was bullied, and I never stood up for myself. But, like I said, when I ended up going to university, I ended up joining a gym and I started lifting weights and I started becoming stronger and more confident. And in fact, I actually ended up doing many years of karate. And that's why my fingers, you can probably see here, it's a bit crooked because I went to fight in tournaments and I got kicked in the hand and damaged my finger. But the point I'm trying to make here is by preparing, by training, you become stronger and you can overcome your fear. So when I was much younger, I was afraid of fighting or getting into a fight. You know, I thought I was going to get hurt. But then obviously after training at the gymnasium, doing karate, I felt super confident and that fear disappeared. I wasn't afraid of anyone attacking me or starting a fight with me because I was confident in my abilities to defend myself. So that's just an example. Whatever you're afraid of, use it to take you to the next level by preparing and tackling that fear. So preparation is the anger to fear. That was lesson number 4. Now lesson number 5, know that everything is temporary. We get attached to things and people and experiences, and when they're gone, we feel lost and alone. Instead, we should be grateful, and we need to learn to let go and move forward. Like Rocky said in the movie Rocky Balboa, winning is about how many hits you can take and keep moving forward, how much you can take and keep moving forward. So see everything as a blessing or a lesson. So anything negative, use that to propel you forward. Lesson number 6, the power of forgiveness. Holding on to resentment and anger is a waste of time and energy, and it keeps you stuck. It's giving your power away. So I suggest take your power back and forgive. It doesn't mean that you agree that what someone did to you was right. It means that you're no longer going to be held in bondage by what they did. You're going to live a happy life moving forward. You're not going to live, a resentful and angry life, because that's what unforgiveness does. It keeps us trapped. So learn to forgive and move forward. And also remember to forgive yourself, because we're only human. We all make mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes and I still make mistakes today. So I learned to forgive myself, to say, hey, I'm only human and I'm going to try and do better next time. So use the power of forgiveness in your life because it changes things dramatically. Now, lastly, lesson number 7, I've learned the importance of living in the moment, because really this is all you've got, this moment, and I appreciate you for spending this moment with me. So don't spend your focus stuck on regrets of the past. Forgive yourself and get back to this moment. Stop worrying about the future because it may never happen, and get back to this moment. Focus on the here and now, because that brings you peace and freedom, and it helps you to enjoy the moment, which is all we really have, because the next moment is promised to no one. So use this moment, be at peace, forgive, and make the right decisions for you and move forward from there. That is the best advice I can give you. Now, I love to hear from you. What are some life lessons you've learned so far in your life? Please type them below in the comments so we can all learn from one another. And if you're already subscribed to my channel, I want to thank you for your support and encouragement. I appreciate you. And if you're not subscribed to my channel and you're interested in this type of content or career-related content from someone that's got over 45 years of working experience, from employee to employer to business owner, who's a certified coach, an author, and has spent 10 years coaching people on how to take charge of their life and career and improve it, then please consider hitting the subscribe button. You also need that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Now, if you got some value from this video, please do give it a thumbs up so it can reach and help other people. If you know someone needs to hear this video because they're feeling a bit stuck in their life, then please do share this video. And like I said, please share your life lessons in the comments below, or if you have any questions or any suggestions for the next video. Till next time, take care. Bye for now.